Well, welcome in everybody. My name is Frank Gambino. I'm part of the Transflo marketing team, and I want to introduce everyone to our Transflo Partnership Series. On today's episode, we are discussing preventing toll fraud with Toll Genius in partnership with Fleetworthy. And before we begin, I do want to go over a few housekeeping items before I introduce our marvelous speakers. So again, thank you for joining us today. Questions are welcome and encouraged. Feel free to submit them as you think of them. Our presenters will answer them at the end of the presentation. There are two ways that you can answer or ask questions rather. The Q&A button, which will house all of the questions, or inside the chat. And then please be aware that today we are recording this session and a replay will be made available after we conclude. As an additional note, please be aware that any reference to rates, costs, or marketing strategies do not reflect a specific offer today by any parties that are presenting. Whew, and a partridge in a pear tree, am I right?
You got it out though.
I did get it out. Well, without further ado, let me introduce today's speakers. So from the Transflo side, we have the fantastic Mr. Don Everhart, Head of Partnerships and Strategy. And then from the Fleetworthy side, we have Ms. Jennifer Santamarina, Solution Engineer. Guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer, you want to lead us off today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for having me. My name is Jennifer Santamarina, and I'm a solution engineer for Fleetworthy. And I actually started my career focusing on tolls, so I'm with Fleetworthy. So I'm very excited to talk to you about our Toll Genius solution.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm Don Everhart. I head partnerships and strategy here at Transflo. Have been with the team for a couple of years now, which that's crazy to say out loud. And I have the great pleasure of working with all of our partners and having a lot of these types of conversations to share some of the solutions that they work with us on. So from an agenda perspective, we're going to move. We've got a lot to cover, right? So we've got some exciting topics. We want to talk about the AI-enabled analytics that we see and what that's doing from an increased visibility perspective. We're going to talk a lot about toll leakage and fraud, which is top of mind for everyone. And if it's not top of mind for folks, we want to help them understand why it should be, right? And then we'll go right into how we can work through those disputes, what a connected toll and workflow can actually look like, and really where we can look for that ROI. And then we'll close with some Q&A for the team today. So Transflo and Fleetworthy, we've been partners for I can't even tell you how long, right? I mean, we have a great strategic partnership. They are classified as a strategic partner with us. We do a ton together. So when we think about the Transflo ecosystem, right, we focus on that cash to cab or the cab to cash portion, right? So whether it's our Mobile Plus and telematics in cab or it's our workflow AI in the back office, a big piece of this is when we work with partners that they fit into that and that they are well integrated and quite frankly, you live in that one space so that you're not like having to chase information all over the place. So a lot of these add-on tools plug directly in. You don't have to go out and find this information elsewhere. We can manage the exceptions right in Flow. And that gives us the result of that toll data sitting right there in the dashboard as we process all of the other automations in space.
All right.
Jennifer? Yep.
Yeah. So we have through our partnership, we have a full power with Transflo. We have our toll system or solution that we're going to talk to specifically about Toll Genius here. I know that we've done some other webinars in regards to our safety solutions and our compliance solution and our way station bypass solution in our partnership. So you can go to the next slide because today we are going to be focusing in on Toll Genius and how we're helping you manage your tolls and how we're working together in the Transflo ecosystem to give you more data at your fingertips so that you can make smart decisions and be proactive instead of reactive with your fleet. So next slide. What's the problem? The problem is fraud, okay? So it's transponder misuse being classified as somebody takes it out of their cab and maybe takes it for a joyride while they're on vacation. Actual fraud, sophisticated fraud, is somebody at a truck stop steals your transponder off of your cab or from inside of your cab and then proceeds to use it themselves. Um, and without a GPS reconciliation or cross-referencing it, there's really no way to A, have it alert you and identify that. And there's also it reduces the ability for you to prove that that was fraud with the agencies. So that's the fraud problem. But there's also leakage problem, which we'll talk about, is that, many of our customers are our fleets, not our customers, but many of our fleets are overpaying with every toll transaction when it gets registered to a plate instead of a transponder. Because there's three levels to toll. There's transponder, there's plate, and there's violation. And transponder is the lowest rate of toll, and so we want to help you get that. And then violation penalties can increase your toll cost as well. And that can result because maybe there was just no protection transmitted to a new vehicle that was added to your fleet. And these are all the problems that we're going to solve with Toll Genius. So next slide.
And so Jennifer, so on this, just as we, as we think through this, um, you know, people think about fraud, and the supply chain has fraud in so many different places. I don't know that it's always top of mind for folks that it's, that the toll space was the first place that they go to think about fraud, right?
It's really
Um,
not.
so I know we're going to touch on a lot of the different things here, but I think important framing as we go through this on how big this problem really is would be very helpful for our audience today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's toll fraud. I started part of my career here at Fleetworthy as a customer success manager, and I had the privilege of working directly with some of our customers. And um, it would astound you, Don, on how many times I got an email prior to Toll Genius being released of customers talking about identifying toll fraud. I don't think that people think that a transponder out of the windshield or out of the cab is going to get stolen, but at that truck stop, when that driver is, refueling or when that driver's getting food, that's where that starts to happen. And I know it's usually with inventory or what product is being shipped is the focus on on fraud,
Right.
but toll can rack up tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm going to touch on a story of when that happened to one of my customers prior to Toll Genius.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll let you get back into flow here. I think it's important to frame up the problem at large, right? So
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Absolutely. So we're going to take greater visibility and give that through Toll Genius. So you can go to the next slide as we continue to frame up that problem and just going into what I was talking about. As a customer success manager, when Toll Genius first rolled out about almost 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years ago, we had the I was talking to a customer about protecting their fleet against fraud and being able to have more visibility and connectivity with their ELD. And that customer in particular said, we've never experienced fraud. We're all set. This is a true story. I got a month later a phone call back saying that they had identified across two different vehicles transponders that had incurred higher than normal tolls over the last 30 days, and it was fraud. Those transponders
Mhm.
had been stolen from that vehicle and had been used in an area in the Northeast where they typically didn't travel. So A, that was our first recognition that it was fraud. And B, because it was in the Northeast, it was racking up a ton of transponder toll that wasn't theirs, which ended up being about $20,000.
Wow,
And you just think two transponders, that's a small amount, but it adds up.
for sure.
So,
Absolutely.
um, it, it's it's a it's scary, and you want to have something there that's going to call out the problem before it becomes a problem, and that's what Tool Genius is going to do. So number one, it's going to help you connect your Transflow ecosystem, cross-reference your GPS of your vehicles to the transponder. It's going to identify misassigned transponders. Maybe a transponder moved from truck A to truck B and nobody notified you. It's going to be able to help with that. It's also going to help with misused transponders. A truck was parked and somebody took it for a joyride and really shouldn't, and that was a non-valid way to use your company transponder, but also identifying fraud. Hey, this transponder is now in New York, but the truck is in Florida at the exact same
Mhm.
time. Do we need to shut this off? Did this get stolen? And then it's also going to catch that toll vehicles that are not covered by toll, right? There's an
Right.
influx of vehicles that are coming into the fleet, vehicles that are going out the fleet and retired or being sold off, and sometimes not having your Transflo or your ELD connect directly to your toll provider creates that gap. Well, with Toll Genius, getting those two systems talking, having Transflo talk to Fleetworthy, Fleetworthy talk back to Transflo, you have the ability to cover those gaps so that there's no vehicles that are lacking toll coverage that need toll coverage. And then giving you a place so you can operate specifically out of Transflo, but do everything you need to do for toll.
Perfect.
So you can
Yeah.
go to the
Yeah.
next slide. So how do we catch this leakage and this fraud? And I want to just take a second here to talk about leakage. Leakage is, hey, I paid more for toll than I really should have, right? Like I said, going back to those three levels of toll, there's transponder toll, which is the lowest rate of toll. Then you have plate toll. I don't know if if all of our audience knows this, Don, but across the country, there's at least a 20% upcharge in plate toll, and it can be 2 to 4 times more expensive in the Northeast, particularly.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
the leakage can add up over time, especially across your whole fleet. So you can go to the next slide so we can talk about how we're catching this. So there's a couple of different reports that are available in the Transflo ecosystem. Number one is our fleet inventory report. So that's going to directly cross-reference which vehicles are in your Transflo, which vehicles are covered in your Fleetworthy toll protection system, and which vehicles are not. So it's going to give you that match of saying, hey, these vehicles match, they're in both systems. And then it's going to say these vehicles are in Transflo, but they're not in Fleetworthy. And then they're going to give you a third report that says this vehicle is in Fleetworthy, but it's no longer in Transflo, just allowing you to click into those vehicles and decide, hey, do we need to take them off or do we need to add this to toll protection? And by doing that, you're going to avoid violations because that's part of the big key is making sure that you have toll protection before that truck hits the road. So next slide, please. This is a quick look of how those reports show up in the Transflo ecosystem. So you can see there's a box around the fleet inventory report that we just actually went through. But we're also going to touch on that toll reconciliation by match result and the vehicle discrepancy report and kind of dive into those. And I promise I won't geek out too hard about them, but they're very exciting. And they're all clickable. So that match that you see where it says total match, you can click into that and see all vehicle lists of all the vehicles that match are in both ecosystems. And then it will tell you specifically which ones are in which and not in the other. And you can click into that. And then you can actually assign a transponder or order a transponder right from there. But you can go to the next slide as we go into the toll match report. So that toll match report shows in and of itself three different things. Number one, it's going to show where tolls and the vehicle GPS, the GPS location of the vehicle matched. And that's great. We want to see most of that matching, and you could see lastly, it was about 89–90% of all the tolls were matching in that specific clip that we just showed. But for the ones that don't match, there's two. There's no match and vehicle anomaly. A no match means that the transponder and the vehicle were both moving, but they were not in the same location. So you can take a look at this picture here, and that shows that the vehicle is down on the left-hand corner of the map, the transponder is up in the right-hand corner of the map, and it's identifying to you, hey, do we need to contact the driver? Do we need to shut this down? Because this is a potential opportunity where the transponder and the vehicle are no longer together. It is we need to make sure that this is not fraud, and if it is, we need to shut this down now. So this is going to help you overall improve your toll management, optimize, make sure that you're on the right, that the correct transponder is in the correct vehicle, and that you are situated so that you're not you're not going to be victimized to fraud.
Right. And that's a high instant rate with this too, where when you see the disconnect that there is likely fraud. It's not like a transponder is like AirPods. You're not taking it into the diner with you and leaving it on the table, right? So
Right.
when we have those disconnects, it's a fairly heavy signal that something is occurring.
Absolutely. And inside that report, you actually see and it highlights the distance. So it'll tell
Mhm.
you that they're 300 miles apart, 1,200 miles apart, because
Right.
one's in California and one's in New York, right? So, and from my experience, the further the distance is, the more likely that, okay, something happened.
Sure. Yep.
So, but you can go to the next slide here. So we can continue on that. We also, from how we're identifying this toll leakage, is looking at your plate management. So again, the second highest rate of toll is your plate toll, and we want to make sure that we're helping you get the lowest rate of toll possible. And so with vehicles that are being covered by plate, it'll actually Transflo will have has the ability to go in and recommend, okay, what type of transponder would this vehicle need, and also be able to order it directly there, which just
Yeah.
simplifies your workflow and allows you to save money.
And Jennifer, you may not know this, but this is one of my favorite features of this product, because I actually implemented this in my prior life when I was at a brokerage that had a heavy trailer pool, right? Because if you think about the problem that we face, so even taking this beyond fleets, right? That plate management gives us the opportunity to, I mean, the number of carriers that I had that were just hauling trailers across tolls for the sake of it that I have no command or control over. And then I was getting stuck with the bills.
Yep.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize is if you're not using a managed solution, these bills show up 6, 8, 10 weeks later. You can't reconcile and bill back,
Nope.
right? And when we deployed this solution, we worked heavily with your team on this. We went to where we had, I mean, in some cases, I had 15-minute view of what happened at a bypass or at a toll station, and in some cases, I mean, it was hours, but again, that was more the tolling authorities timeframes, not the toll genius timeframes. So this helped us immensely and saved us thousands and thousands of dollars in billbacks, and quite frankly, things that we would have never been able to capture on our own. So
That's
I
amazing.
just I thought that was an interesting tidbit for this, and I tried to save it for right now instead of telling you ahead of time.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
You can go to the next slide because in plate management also will then kind of roll up and show up those savings, because as you're identifying anomalies, as you're identifying unmatches, you'll be able to have the information and then report it back to the agency and showcase, hey, I wasn't in this location. This was not my plate. This was, that this was my transponder was stolen, and provide that information back to the agencies, so that you can recoup some of your monies. But you can go to the next slide. So how we're helping recoup that money is using that GPS evidence to resolve those toll disputes. So let's take a look deeper into that and go to the next slide. So the toll discrepancy report, and that's one of the reports that's available inside the Transflo ecosystem, is taking a look at a vehicle and showing its full complete history. So you'll see a lot of matches for that vehicle, but then you'll also be able to identify where it didn't match. And then you can drill down into that. It'll pop up the map that we showed in the previous slide. And so you can see that that transponder, that vehicle were not in the same location. And then you can be able to send that information back to the agency and submit a credit request. And what we've found is this been able to improve costs for fleets. It's also been able to help with budgeting, which I'll showcase in an optimization report here coming up here. But it's just enhanced visibility and using the data that you have to be able to prove, what's actual legitimate toll versus fraudulent. So you can go to the next slide. Um, and because and this is just an example of what we were just talking about again, but just because
Mhm.
this is time stamped, and you can send this back and just use this as an ability to resolve that. And this eliminates weeks of back and forth with authorities. It's also giving you the proof that you need, because, they need to make sure that our roadways are taking care of the whole point of tolls. And so they want to get paid. A transponder went through, but if it's not yours and if it was stolen, then they also want to work with you to make sure that you're being charged appropriately, but they require evidence and documentation of that. Um, so you so leveraging this will allow you to have those disputes and submit those credits.
Yeah, this is a huge impact item for the audibility of what occurred and getting those resolved quickly.
Absolutely. So you can go to the next slide. I also really like the toll mile report that's available in here,
Yep.
and toll mileage. I don't know if everyone knows this, but not every agency sends toll mileage along with the toll information data all the time. And so having this a report live inside the Transflo ecosystem is extremely helpful.
Mhm.
A lot of customers use toll mileage to be able to validate their IFTA mileage, because if you can also prove that you had a transponder actual toll event on that same, it helps you in your audit purposes if you need to validate anything. So toll mileage is not just specifically for toll transactions. It has other use cases in the compliance world as well, and is very useful. Moving on to the next slide. So what does a connected toll and ELD workflow look like? So let's just take a look at that. So if we move forward to the next slide, you'll see how we're able to help you simplify transponder management. So having those two work together and having the ability to manage your transponders inside the Transflo ecosystem will save you time. You can actually order, replace, unassigned, reassign transponders right from Transflo. And this also helps you just minimize your disruptions, right? Because you're doing it right from the portal that you're used to.
Yeah, single pane of glass for all of this management and reporting.
Exactly. So you can go to the next slide. We also have the ability inside of Transflo to be able to help you with budgeting. And so we were talking about expenses and being able to budget, but usually towards the third quarter, everyone starts looking at the next year that's coming, and they also want to be able to allocate specific costs. And one of those costs is toll. And so inside here, you can actually go in and see how much you spent in toll from that year. But you can also say, okay, I'm planning on increasing my fleet by 25%. How would that affect my toll cost here? Can you give me an estimate here? And then you can also look to maximize your savings with the optimization report that is coming up here in a second. But just being able to budgetary have this, and when toll agencies put and post information, that information is directly reflected inside here, so that if there's an increase or a decrease from an agency, you will have that information right here at your fingertips.
Right.
Next slide.
Now we get to talk about the the part that people really care about, right?
Yes.
Yes. Uh, like show us the ROI, right? And where can clients expect for that to kind of show up first? What's the speed to ROI on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first ROI I would have to call out is the optimization report. Ta-da! I've mentioned it twice. Here it is. So what the optimization report does is it takes a look at each individual vehicle and it analyzes, okay, first, does it have a transponder assigned to it? If it's no, and it's just getting an incurring plate toll, it will actually take a look at the pattern of the routes that it's traveling and suggest a transponder type according to the routes that that vehicle is traveling.
Mhm.
Just a little plug though, we do have an all-inclusive transponder called a Complete Pass that also allows you to go anywhere throughout the nation. So that's also there as well. But it will recommend a transponder based off of your routes of that vehicle. It'll show you how much you got charged for plate toll. And then with that transponder recommendation, how much you will save moving forward by deploying a transponder. So that's a really useful tool. It'll also help you if you do have a transponder on there to be able to identify if for some reason somebody accidentally ordered the wrong transponder, wrong regional transponder, or they had the right transponder from the beginning, but that vehicle is now domiciled in a totally different section of the
Right.
country. It'll recommend the right transponder for you to be moving forward. So that's a key
Right.
place where it can optimize and show you some savings. But you
Yep.
can go to the next slide because there's a little bit more savings that we wanted to talk about. And number one is optimization and looking at your routes and what transponder is best. So we just mentioned that. But also number two is identifying that fraud, being able to have
Mhm.
a report that pops up that says, hey, these are unmatched tools. This is an anomaly. This vehicle was parked and this transponder rang. This is something that you need to bring to your attention and look at versus finding out because someone says, hey, look at truck 1234. Why are they spending way more money than the rest of our fleet? Right?
Right.
It's the proactive alert versus reactive and finding out too late, right? Um, Also, agencies close out the ability to dispute things after 90 days. So you don't want to wait that long. You want to be able to be proactive. And then other ROI comes from being able to save time with the connected systems and being able to reduce the amount of violation. Having those two talk to each other, Transflo and Fleetworthy. Hey, this is in Fleetworthy. Do
Yeah,
you need it to be in Fleetworthy? Hey, this is in Transflo, but it's not in Fleetworthy. Do you need it to be there? Right. And
right,
so just being able to have the two systems talk to each other and work for you will save you some time. And also being able to do everything, like you said, out of a single pane of glass, even order a transponder straight from
right.
Transflo is going to be beneficial.
Yes. Jennifer, thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. And like I said, I've used the product. I believe in the product. And we clearly, have a great partnership. So I'm hoping that our audience got some good information here and that they learned something about how we work together. Um, and Frank, I think you were going to open up Q&A for us in the last couple minutes here.
Absolutely, I was. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Perfect. It does look like we have a couple that have come in. So the first one is a comment saying lease vendors also add a fee for the tolls on top of the added toll costs. So just as I
Mhm.
mentioned there. Um, and then we have a few questions that have popped in. So do you have any examples of how fleets have used this data to optimize their routes?
Yes, actually, that's a really great question. So, taking a look at your routes and being able to uh, see a couple of things. One of the things that I didn't point out that's available inside one of the reportings is really a ability to look at a toll calculator. So, if you put in the beginning part of your um, uh, route and then the ending part of your route based off of the classification of the vehicle, and it'll ask you a couple of questions for size and weight and tire count, but it will actually show you all the different route possibilities for starting and ending point and also the toll costs associated with that. So recently, I actually just deployed Toll Genius with a customer when we were able to save tens of thousands of dollars in reducing the toll cost by taking an alternative route.
That's awesome. There's two other questions, but one that just came off of that answer is, does it show you the most optimized route?
So yes, it shows the most optimized route first, but then it shows you all the available routes, and so it will also show you if there's one that's got zero tolls. It'll show based off of time. So there's a couple of ways you can optimize it because if you're hauling refrigerated goods, maybe time's more important to you. But if you're trying to look for ways to reduce costs, maybe you want to look for the no cost way.
Right. And it simplifies also just like time of day analysis too. I know that's big analysis that we've had to do in the past when we were looking at this was, even though it may be a less optimal from a time of day perspective, maybe it was the most efficient and safest route to move. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot you can learn from the optimizer.
Thank you. So it looks like we've got two questions, and if you don't want a transponder, could you just use the plate?
Yes, you could just use the plate and still have it tie back to the information there. Um, that is a choice that several of our customers make because they want less technology in the vehicle, and that makes sense. So that is a possibility.
Yeah. And that's how I used it previously, again, because I didn't have the truck. I had the trailer, and the trailer is what was getting caught on the plate and incurring the toll. And to Jennifer's earlier point, people that are doing that manually today, you run into this gap of some of the agencies you can't dispute past the 90 days, right? So, and they will in some cases take 90 days to get the toll bill out to you.
The longest I've ever seen is a year.
Yeah.
Oy. It looks like we have time for one last question, and we do have one. We currently use Geotab as our tracking tool. Is this product able to be connected to that software?
Um, Tool Genius has the ability to also integrate there as well. Yes.
Yep.
All right, perfect.
Awesome.
Don, Jennifer, thank you guys so much for joining us today, and thank you for the amazing presentation. If there are more questions and we haven't been able to get to it today, please feel free to reach out to contact@transflo.com, and of course, we'll direct those questions over to the experts and get you answers. And again, a recording of today's presentation will be sent out to all registrants within the next 24 hours. All right. Thank you all for joining us today.
Excellent.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Jennifer. Thanks,
Thanks for
everyone.
having me.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.